Yeah, I remember reading about that book. It was about... When I was a little kid in school, there was this test of a value education class where I was asked, what product would you like to see in the future? And I wrote, I would like to see a candy which helps us to remember books. For example, a candy for A Mongoose Sold His Ferrari, or a candy for Pride and Prejudice. If you eat that candy, you can remember the whole book. We are in 2020 now, but the candy is yet to be invented. So, sad life. So here's the problem with most of us. We can't remember everything that we read, right? So what's the point of reading, you may ask? Now you already know how to develop a reading habit and how to read faster and better. But now it's time to know how to remember more of what you have read. Hey guys, welcome to this new video. In this video, we're going to talk about how to remember more of what you have read. So here's the catch. There are two different types of reading. One is the academic reading, in which we have to remember everything and reproduce it exactly the way it is. And the other type of reading is that you read something for your own development, for your own mindset development. To memorize those academic stuff, there are many memory techniques, make songs of stuff and follow the loci problem and stuff. We are not going to do that. In this video, I'm going to tell you tips how to remember mostly self-help books, non-fiction books, because fiction books is also something I think you don't need to remember. It is more of an experience, right? So I'm going to tell you 5 important tips with the help of which you can remember more of what you have read. These tips are very, very easy to follow, and I promise you, if you start implementing these tips in your reading habit, it will benefit you a lot. So this video has a lot of useful information. Make sure you watch the video till the end. You may never know which thought or fact may resonate with you and change the course of your life. So let's get started. The first important tip which I'm going to tell you to remember more of what you have read is practicing the art of pre-reading. Pre-reading is something like priming. In priming, basically your brain is tricked into finding patterns. In the same way, pre-reading helps you to already know about the book even before reading it. Let me explain. When you close your eyes and think about a specific color, after you open your eyes after some seconds and you feel that you're already seeing that color is predominant around you. In the same way, pre-reading helps you to know more of the book and remember more of the book. Now let me explain this with the help of a very cool example. Now there's a book, Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy by Douglas Adams. It's one of the greatest fiction stories I've ever read, by the way. So this book, basically before starting the book, observe the book. There's a small button here which says don't panic. There's a story written at the back of the book which says about the book. Plus, even before starting the story, the author has given us a description of how this book came into existence, why this story was written. There were some radio episodes before, and then the episodes of the radio channel got converted into this book. So you already know a lot of premise around this book. There's also a beautiful reference of this button which says don't panic. So it's basically sparks you when you read the reference in the book, and that way you can never forget that this book had a don't panic button. So in this way, even before reading a book, you need to read what is behind the book. You need to read the epilogue. Most of the people don't read the epilogue. I don't know why. It's just a 2-minute task, 3-minute task, but it's very important to read the epilogue as well. So that is my first tip, to pre-read a book even before starting the book. Now the second tip which I'm going to suggest you is highlighting the right way. Now I have seen people who highlight literally everything. Whenever they see a title, they highlight it. Whenever they see a good phrase or an important concept, they highlight it. It's not important to highlight everything. It's only important to highlight what you actually want to know in the future. So there's a beautiful technique by Tim Ferriss. I saw it in one of his videos where he uses the asterisk method. Now let me explain. If, for example, there's a book named Freakonomics. On the index page of the book, I have made some asterisks which are single asterisks and double asterisks and written something in front of it. This is my personalized index. Now what do I achieve by doing this? Single asterisks, whenever I find an important concept in the book which I feel I should remember in the future, I put a single asterisk to it, and on the index page I put the asterisk and I write the page number. Whenever I want to remember an important phrase or a sentence, I put 2 asterisks and make a personalized index and make a note of that on my front page. This is helpful because this is your own personalized index. You know what you want in the future. You know what is helpful to you. You don't need to highlight literally everything. Now if you have a Kindle, it's well and good for you. You already can make a list of all the highlights and markers, but I'm more of a paperback person. I never read ebooks, maybe because I love the smell of books, but it's okay. I don't read ebooks, so this method is really helpful for me, and I think it will be helpful for you guys as well. So the third tip to remember more of what you have read is practicing the Feynman Technique. Now this is a technique which was used by a lot of philosophers and scientists. They had this general thought, but it was Richard Feynman who actually popularized this technique, and it is therefore known as the Feynman Technique. This technique is very simple, and all you need to do is this. Whenever you see a title of a chapter, or when you see what's going to be the next chapter about, stop right there and before reading, contemplate what you already know about this chapter. Think of it like you have to explain it to an 8-year-old kid. Try explaining to him or her what you already know. For example, let us take an example from this book Homo Deus. There's a chapter named The Time Bomb in the Laboratory. Now, before reading this chapter, I'll try to explain to that kid what I already know about time bomb. Now, this book is talking about the future of humanity, so I'll start with what I know about the time bomb, how was it invented, and what was the first consequence of hitting of a time bomb and stuff like that. I'll remember all that stuff. After I'm done explaining to that imaginary kid, I'll read the chapter. Now, after reading the chapter, what really happens is there are gaps in your understanding. There are gaps in what you already know. After you read the chapter, these gaps are automatically filled, and this way you already know how to weave a thread around it. The next time when this topic comes up, you actually know more of what you already know. Are you getting it? So these gaps are filled. So whenever you want to remember it, these gaps are filled and you are very confident with the subject because you knew this is what I didn't know and this is what I know now. So it's a beautiful technique which you can practice to remember more of what you have read. Now the next tip which you can follow is making minimalistic notes after you have read the book. Now what happens is we tend to make notes after every chapter. We put post-its and write what was there in the chapter. This creates a lot of clutter and a lot of confusion when we are revisiting it again, and the information is very scattered. Now what you can do is, rather than making notes for every chapter, make only one note which is a minimalistic version of the book at the end of the book. There's a beautiful example for this. This is a book named The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. When you see the last page of the book, this is basically the entire book. He has written the summary of the entire book in a picture form. There are emojis here and the meaning of that emoji here. Whenever I want to revisit this book, I just see this page and the whole book is in front of me. There's basically a story which the monk tells the author, in which there are various elements like there's a garden, there's a lighthouse, there's a sumo. So whatever every object means, Robin Sharma has written that on the last page, and whenever you want to revise it, you can just go here and literally revise everything that you need to know. This is a very, very powerful technique, minimalistic notes. So these notes are very, very personalized and very, very subjective. So you need to know what you actually want from the book. So that way this technique really helps a lot. Now we come to the last tip which you can follow. The tip is using secondary sources of information after you're done reading with the book. Now what I mean by this is, after you're done reading with the book, go to the internet and find references about these books. Talk about these books. For example, I recently read the book Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and there's a beautiful TED video which says why you should read Crime and Punishment. So my understanding of the book was limited, I felt, and after watching that video, I found many more nuances in the book. I found many more things which I don't think I would have understood in my first go. So using these secondary sources like talking into book forums, following YouTubers like myself, this may sound promotional, but it's very important when you get the perspective of somebody else after you have read something. When you know the perspective of somebody else, it's very hard to forget it. If someone has told you that this was my perspective and this was your perspective, this conversation is always there at the back of your subconscious and you really tend to not forget it. So always go to the internet. It hardly takes a few minutes after reading a book and searching about that book, reading reviews about that book, watching booktubing videos and stuff like that. It really helps you to remember what you have actually read. So that's all for the tips. These are very, very effective tips, mostly used for non-fiction and self-help books, and also important fiction books. You need to remember some important concepts from the fiction books. You don't need to remember everything because after all it's an experience. It's not something which you have to reproduce it again someday. We come to the end of the video. Do incorporate these tips and let me know if you have any other tip. Write in the comment down below. If you like the video, if you like my content, do subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video. I'm really grateful for all the support that you have given me. Keep supporting me in these ways. I come up with videos every week. Also, there is something which I wanted to tell all of you guys. There's a fellow booktuber named Daksh who has a channel named Everything About Reading. It's a beautiful, informative channel. He also talks about books. He gives lessons from books, and we collaborated and made a short video on the eve of Independence Day, basically how independence frees your mind. So it's a collaboration we did over the internet. You can check out the video. The link is in my description below. Check his channel out. You'll definitely like the channel as well. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.